Hello and welcome back to the Perth to Paisley Podcast, episode number 56. It's been another turbulent, fun and frustrating week as Heart of Midlothian fans, and we're here to discuss it all. I, as ever, am one of your hosts, Daniel McIver, and I'm joined by Adam Kennedy. Adam, how you doing?
I'm in a good place, mate, despite, more drop points for the men in maroon. But on the whole, I'm actually not too bad. I know that we're obviously going to get into the latest disappointment, but all right, mate. What about yourself?
I'm doing the exact same. But yeah, the weekend was an interesting one for both Hearts and the league in general, which is, of course, where we'll start with the Around the Grounds feature. If this is your first time listening, we literally just run through all the other results in the league and kind of give our thoughts on them if we have seen them, which I have actually. I watched Sports Scene because friend of the podcast in terms of we're friends with them, Andrew Petrie now is a regular on Sports Sound, which is cool as anything, and Sports Scene. So, loving it. Basically, we will speak about the first game throughout this podcast, which was our game. However, our Edinburgh rivals just seem to be copying us consistently as they just decide to do whatever we do, as they also dropped points, however, at home to St Mirren, conceding really late on. Aberdeen continued on their pretty terrible trend under Stephen Glass with a 1-0 loss to St Johnstone at home, who got their first win of the campaign. On to Sunday, Rangers dropped their first points at home in fucking ages, it feels like. As
March 2020, I think, was the last.
Like, ridiculous amount of time.
Mad.
As Graham Alexander's Motherwell just kind of continues to march on in this incredible fashion since the opening day loss. Celtic, again, lost at the Tony Macaroni to Livingston 1-0. Doesn't matter how many players are different, doesn't matter the manager that's different. The spaghetti has something over Celtic Football Club. And then to close it out, James McPake's Dundee lost in the Dundee derby to Tam Courts' Dundee United 1-0. Adam, what were your big takeaways from the week outside of Hearts?
Well, this is what I was going to add. See if we'd have won, this would have been a near perfect weekend. Like, you literally just reeled off all the results there. Delighted to see Aberdeen get beat. I wasn't anticipating a win for either side, to be honest. I had that down for a draw, and it looked as though it was going to head that way. But I'm a massive fan of Stevie May, one of the worst Aberdeen strikers we've seen, given his torrid time there, scoring the winner, cupping his ears to the Pittodrie crowd as he's running into the corner. Just tremendous shithousery. Hibs was just hilarious. Obviously, astounded to see them fall behind. Then I saw the nick of the goal. Ryan Porteous, dearie me.
Just continuing my thought process that he's awful and I've never seen him play well.
And then everybody harps on about Josh Doig, but it's probably his man for the eventual equaliser. St Mirren looked absolutely shocking, so the fact that they've walked away with a point is hilarious to me. Sunday, Rangers Motherwell, both goals I don't really think should have stood, so that was a bit of just a bit of a meh. Livingston beating Celtic, absolutely superb. I mean, Celtic, 3 away league matches, 3 away league defeats to Hearts, Rangers and Livingston. I mean, inject that content into my veins. That is exactly what we're after. Even though they're, churning out these fantastic performances at Parkhead, like it's nobody's business, but what does it matter? Have I missed anybody? What was the other? Oh, the Dundee derby. I had 1-0 United for my Who Scored preview, so I'm pretty proud of that. Because it's no surprise to see James McPake lose another derby. Dundee haven't won at Tannadice since 2004. I don't know why various media outlets were, adamant that they'd go on and seal 3 points. So, yeah. What a wonderful and wacky weekend in the Scottish Premiership once again. What were your thoughts?
You've kind of summed up my thoughts on the individual games. I wanted to just touch on something in general, which I was harping on about all last season, and I've already mentioned this season.
Here we go.
I managed to watch the Dundee derby in full. I watched the whole game, and it I just thought it was a terrible game of football. It was not a good game generally. It was really good in terms of the passion, and the fans were on it from the very start.
But hold on a second, were loads of folk not saying that the Dundee Derby is miles better than the Edinburgh Derby?
Well, yeah, so this is the big thing. So the amount of people who were like,
not for me.
Oh, the Dundee Derby is actually the second best derby behind the Old Firm in Scotland. And I think a lot of people say that just because you often get mental score lines. Like, I think that's it.
It's been a couple 6-2s in recent memory that I can think of anyway. Yeah.
Exactly. But the Edinburgh Derby that we've just had, despite it not having any goals, was a far better game than that Dundee Derby. However, it really solidified the thing that I've been saying all the time, that this league is rubbish. Dundee United, who I would probably argue we've had our best performance against this season, the 2-0 away.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Was probably the most complete. They didn't lay a glove on us then and have not looked amazing in terms of performances. They are currently 2 points off top. Like,
do you know what it is though? I labelled United bipolar, and I've said that just about everywhere. But when you actually look at it, I think they've scored 3 league goals and are sat on 10 points, given they've churned out 3 1-0 wins against Rangers, St Johnstone and Dundee. So if you're United, that's no mean feat, given obviously the reigning champion sending their first defeat. That was an incredible achievement given their unbeaten season, and 2 Tayside rivals. So you'll take that all day. But like, how did we blow them away? Yet they've looked so competent against the other 3. I just think it's such a. I want to say it's competitive, which it is, but is it a decent competition? Like, do you get where I'm coming from? Yeah. It seems like sometimes jobbers cancel one another out. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, it's not even like we were at our best against United, but then in the following 3 performances, or the following 2 performances, I should say, and then due to the international break, which I think has come at the wrong time for us, we've dominated games, but haven't had that same cutting edge. So it's bizarre to be seeing the league unravel week by week, because let's be frank, I don't think anybody's going to predict what's going to happen at the weekend.
Well, we will now move on to a game that many people did predict and probably a lot of people got wrong, as Hearts travelled to Dingwall for the first time this season and in a couple of seasons, of course, due to our enforced demotion to the Championship. And there was some big news, as both Michael Smith and Josh Ginnelly were not in the squad due to injuries. Michael Smith with the niggle that he picked up on international duty and was carrying through the Edinburgh Derby, and Josh Ginnelly with an ankle injury that he picked up in a bounce game and played through the Edinburgh Derby with, as we spoke about last week. So as a result, we did the thing I hoped we didn't do and changed formation. So we went from the 3-4-3, which has been working so well for us this season, and we changed it not to what many people expected, the 4-2-3-1, which we've used previously. A brand new system made its debut in a 4-1-4-1, not what the BBC have in a 3-4-1-2. That
is a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. That isn't what we played with Ben Woodburn as the CDM. That's not what was happening in that situation. However, the team was, in fact, Gordon, and then a back 4 of Stephen Kingsley, Craig Halkett and John Suter, and Taylor Moore making his first full competitive starting debut at right back. Then a 1 of Benny, all on his own. Then a 4.
What a player.
I know. Of GMS, Barry Mackay. And then kind of 2 number 10s almost, or 2 cams probably, Liam Boyce and Ben Woodburn. In behind another guy getting his first start, Armand Nandwale. What did you think of the team, especially as everyone's main reaction was, I think Robbie Nielsen's taken the defensive chat too personally, and he's just like, right, I'll play everybody who's attacking.
I was probably thinking the exact same as various messages I received, which were, what are those band of names? What formation do these 11 names fit into? This is where management must be the most tricky thing in the world. Because if I'm Malky Mackay reading those 11 names, I'm thinking, who on earth is playing where? Like, I did not have a clue. I'm assuming you were in that same boat, because there's a part of me that thinks, right, well, we must be a back three given Taylor Moore's in. Then I remembered that whilst the talk is that he can't play wing back, he could play full back. So does that mean that Stephen Kingsley's on the other side? I thought Benny Beningame is just going to be in there on his own. And I know that I've said that he's that good that he probably could play on his own, or that he's like the Congolese Kante or whatever. I didn't think Hearts would literally take what I had to say and apply it. And then we've had, a plethora of strikers all available at once, where we've literally spoken about, and various other Hearts podcasts will have spoken about, our lack of options up front. So we just chuck them all in the blender, see what's going to happen, and leave no striker on the bench to come on and change the game. So when I think of all these things, added together, all these factors, I was left very confused. What about you?
I think everybody was in the same boat, really. Obviously, as I said, I didn't want us to change from the 3-4-3. I know it can probably be argued that it was an enforced change. Robbie said afterwards that he wants to keep playing the 3-4-3, however, due to the injuries. I would argue you probably could have played the 3-4-3, but I will get into how I feel you should have played it later, because I want to speak about...
I think you're going to suggest what I've seen various other people suggest.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. I thought it was a 4-4-2. I thought it was Benny and Woodburn. Woodburn was just playing as a centre mid. I just thought it was like
just doing what he wants.
Yeah, because Robbie said he can play as a number 8, so I just assumed it was like Benny's playing as a 6. Woodburn's
right enough. That looks a lot more routine. Moore and Kingsley fullbacks, GMS and Mackay on the flank. Yeah.
But no, it wasn't that at all. It was
anything but that.
Exactly. So it was very weird. A lot of people were really happy because it was so attacking. It was like, listen, we're going away from home and we're throwing...
Answered every Hearts da.
Yes. This was Robbie going to all the das, right? Okay, we'll pick your team and see how
and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
And to be honest, it started off pretty, 50-50, because the opening 10 minutes were very entertaining from a perspective of both sides seemed to just want to concede of their own accord. So very early on, the Ross County goalie, Maynard Brewer, went to chuck it. I think it's the 3rd minute, went to throw it, and it slips out his hand, and the boys tries to rush in, but can't, and the keeper claims it, and he's like, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Then... I
think he was nervous, because, I'm sorry, I noticed that he was making his county debut between the sticks, so I don't know whether that's kind of early nerves. He's obviously replaced Ross Laidlaw, who I think's been their keeper for as long as I can remember. Yeah. So... I don't know. He's obviously wanting to impress, but carry on.
Well, one man who doesn't have that excuse is our goalkeeper, who about 7 minutes has the ball at his feet and just kind of goes, can't be bothered with this, and just passes it straight to, I think it's Ross Callahan.
It is Ross Callahan. Yeah. Yes.
Just plays it Callahan, who shoots, and thankfully Gordon gets there, slides and catches it. And it's a bit like, okay. That
was a massive case of us being let off the hook there. Yes. I think that's what you were going to say, because the back pass from Taylor Moore is standard. It's decent enough. And why Craig Gordon looks to clear with his right foot, I don't know. Ross Callahan, all he has to do is literally aim for the far corner. He's got so much space because of the ground that Craig Gordon's had to make up and scramble back. Why he shoots where he does to allow Gordon to come and carry it, I don't know. But in fairness to Ross Callahan, I mean, that probably wasn't even his worst miss. He could have ended up with a hat trick, which we'll get into later on.
True. However,
how Hearts would that have been, can I just say?
Exactly. That's all I was worried about.
A guy that we have ridiculed, deemed not good enough, and could have bagged, certainly 2 or 3 off living memory.
Well, we were the first team to get it started, as around 9-10 minutes, we play the ball, a nice kind of break of play. Ross County looked quite settled, however, GMS plays the ball through to... Is it GMS or Woodburn?
It's GMS.
It is GMS. GMS plays the ball through to an on-running Liam Boyce, who puts it past the keeper's near post. I think Maynard Brewer thought he was going to put it across him and go to his far post because he kind of just goes onto his knees and realises he's been beaten. Liam Boyce does not celebrate. He just puts his hand up. However, one man who does celebrate is Gary Mackay-Steven, who I don't know if you notice it, but when everybody kind of rushes Boyce, GMS does like a lap round him. And it's just like celebrating this. Apparently, Gary Mackay-Steven hates Ross County. It must be a Highland thing.
I was going to say, because I think he's a former county youth as well. My memory serves me. I don't know. Either way, I thought it was a nice wee nutmeg from GMS. Decent enough run from Boyce, obviously exploiting the space and whatnot. The finish is a weird one because it looks as though Maynard Brewer's rooted to the spot, like you say. And I don't know whether he's assuming that he's going far post. I think it's just the deflection and the wee nick just takes it past him and then he's left flat-footed. I don't know. I'd like to see another angle because the angle that you're given on various highlights packages. I mean, even talking about the highlights packages, like I was chatting about this to Stefan on Di Stefano Talks. The highlights packages for our game are awful, man. Like genuinely terrible. Sports scenes gash for the most part, and yet, like the SPFL YouTube channel, why would you not just have commentary over it?
Yes, I know. That's so frustrating.
It's weird. Like what other Premier League? What other major leagues highlight package doesn't have some form of commentary?
Yeah. It's
but hey, I'm tired of digging up the SPFL, so we'll move on quickly.
Well, we have something very quickly to move on to as Ross County kick off, and within 60 seconds, from a defensive point of view, I actually think we do the defender's handbook very well. We ensure them to stay on the edge of the box. We don't needlessly press, so it creates space. We do quite well to press, but then one pass kind of does us and 5 players are locked into place, and it ends up with Blair Spittle on the edge of our box hitting, in fairness, a great strike into the far left-hand corner. Gordon's left with no chance because by the time the ball gets through the crowd of people, he can't react quickly enough, and within 60 seconds it's all equal again.
This is cards on the table time. So I was working on Saturday. I was intending to go up to Dingwall with a couple of pals before they pulled out. So I thought I'd take a shift on. Thought it'll be fine. I'll work the afternoon. I'll have Sports Sound on just to, listen, get me through the shift and whatnot. So I'm away off working. Obviously hadn't realised that we'd scored. I come back and I hear that there's been an equaliser in Dingwall. To which I'm like, right, okay, so either it's been a shocking start, as per the usual, and we've fallen behind, or we've actually gone in front for once and haven't held on to lead after 11 minutes, I think it was. Like, is that not just the most infuriating thing that you've ever seen? And then I see the goal. I quite like Big John White up front. I know he's not a regular goal scorer, but he does his job. He's the type of target man that, let's be frank, I'd expect to see in Maroon at some stage, because we've always had some useless huddy up front who's never a prolific goal scorer. So I actually think it's decent target man play from him to hold it up in essence. And Blair Spittle obviously playing that supporting role, a guy that we actually spoke about when you gave your prediction last week saying 2-1, and you didn't pick out a county scorer. I then said Blair Spittle. So then once I hear it's Blair Spittle that's got the equaliser, I'm like, shit, I'm gonna get pulled up for this.
Yes, you are.
But you're right, it is a fantastic finish. I mean, what a player. Let's just open the checkbook up now. But yeah, look, it's a crowd of bodies, and like I say, Jordan White does well to hold off a couple challenges. Whether we could put a foot in or not, I don't really know. Again, need to see it back. We probably could. But again, I take nothing away from the strike, because ultimately, like you say, it's through all that traffic and it's past Craig Gordon in a flash.
100%. However, I would argue, and this is where I'm going to start my argument for positivity with this result. I am Hearts teams in recent years, I think, would panic. We would kind of go into our shell for maybe 10 minutes, maybe go, right, let's just solidify this and kind of stick together. And then
after taking the lead, you mean?
Yes. So I think it would have just been a bit of a nightmare. And then you think, oh, they've equalised, right? This is it. They're going to just break and blah, blah. However,
I'm just thinking Hearts teams of the past go in front.
I know, exactly. Yeah, it would never happen. But let's just theorise that it did. However, that didn't happen. And that really does seem to be a theme of this team, that the mentality was clearly, nope, let's stick to this game plan. The game plan is working generally. And as a result, we kept up the attack and play. Ross County had to keep going deeper and deeper into their own half. Armand Nandole getting his first start. A lot of the ball was, as you were saying there about Jordan White, it was very much based around his hold-up play. Often it would go, because of the 4, we can't have the expansive centre halves that we normally do with the 3, so it would often go out to Taylor Moore or Stephen Kingsley, who would play it up for Nandole, who did reasonably well in the first half, I felt, for holding it up. There was a couple of times where Stephen Kingsley bombed down the left. 2 crosses in particular, Nandole had chances, and it was just kind of really good saves from Maynard Brewer. Nandole had another chance with his foot where he hits it cleanly. You can't ask.
That one that he takes on his chest, kind of at the edge of the box. Yes. Because I was going to ask you about the header. I don't feel as though the header, he gets sufficient contact on it.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
I don't know. I feel as though if he does, it's probably net bound. But that obviously just, I think that's fair.
He does have I think it's Peyton is right on him. So Nandole, you see in the moment, he has to take a step back to get away from Peyton. And I think in that moment, he's behind the ball. He's in front of the ball a wee bit when it arrives.
It's tricky to then elevate and get,
as you said, the one that he took down his chest from the edge of the box, really sweet strike. Maynard Brewer makes a really good save to get it.
That was a good save, that.
It was. And I will say this. What is it with us coming up against keepers that seemingly are having the games of their lives in recent weeks? I'm sick and tired of this.
Well, this is what I was going to touch on. You know, he's made his debut. He's claimed man of the match, and he's still conceded twice. Like, is it something that we're doing wrong, or is it just the fact that we're coming up against decent keepers in recent weeks? Because I look at it and I think Aberdeen, I know that Joe Lewis is on the decline now, but he's been decent for several years. I think Dundee United, you probably could argue, have the best goalkeeper duo, because I think Benji Siegrist is top class when he starts, and obviously he's back in now. But even then, Trevor Carson as an understudy, I think that's a great signing. But yet, it didn't prove an issue for us at Tannadice. So what I'm trying to ask is it stuff that we're doing wrong? Is it just off days because they're off days? Like, why can we not seem to make the most of these attacking opportunities? I say week after week, that sounds harsh, but in the past 2 weeks.
I hate to be all cliche on you, but I think it's a mix of both. I think we've had 2 weeks where we've come up against 2 goalkeepers who have had incredibly good games. However, it is also compounded with the fact that we have missed some big chances, most notably, in my opinion, the Gary Mackay-Stephen chance, who we seem to be talking about. I've never known a player in the time that we've done this podcast, which is now, we're technically into our 3rd season, that we can name so many massive misses. Because this one is unbelievable. If you've not seen it, Nandole does everything right. He should have an assist on his record. He takes the ball down. He beats the man. He plays it inside for GMS. GMS is on the penalty spot.
It's a lovely ball from Nandole.
It's great. It's like,
he looks so frustrated as well. Yeah,
he was raging. He was raging. And the reason he's raging is because from 6 yards out, all GMS has to do is pass it in. But for some reason, he goes for power and it almost ends up at the corner flag with just an unbelievably bad miss. And it very much, for me, compounded Gary Mackay-Stephen's performance on the day and recent performances. For me, he cannot start against Livingston this weekend.
Despite getting the assist for the boys' goal.
Yes, because I think anyone would have. I think Ben Woodburn or Barry Mackay or Josh Ginnelly would make that pass.
No, I think that's fair. And I did praise the nice wee nutmeg, but GMS is so hot and cold, isn't he? Like, even in a 90-minute match, he's got something about him. Like, there's a little sort of spark at times, you feel, through Gary Mackay-Steven. And he's capable of magic moments, but he's also capable of missing absolute sitters. And now you say it, like, you were probably more generous with the Hibs chance that he had.
Mm-hmm.
The Dundee one is the one that sticks out for me. And now it's bad that I'm thinking it probably goes Dundee, County, and now this, the miss against Hibs for me. And I see people talk about, if we had our shooting boots on, we'd be on this many points. Chances like that don't come as easily as they have. And you're right, Nant really does everything right. I thought the big man was really good, actually. I thought all his performance missed was a goal. And I really do like Big Nant, really. I notice he gets a lot of stick as well. But Gary Mackay-Steven, man, like, I've backed GMS from day dot because I do enjoy watching him. But equally, he can frustrate the life out of you. And I don't know whether that's just because of the fact that he's a winger and wingers frustrate you generally. But in all my time supporting Hearts, I can't recall somebody that is as hot and cold, not just in a 90-minute match, but over kind of a spell. Because let's be frank, when he first signed, he was very poor. And I said, stick with him, he'll come good. Let's face it, he was shit hot toward the end of last season. Used that as a pre-season, has looked or opened the season well. But in the last few games, I'd be inclined to agree that Barry Mackay, I thought, was excellent. And for me, deserves to keep that jersey over GMS. Whether Josh Ginnelly comes back into the equation, I don't know. Whether we'll see yet another formation change and Ben Woodburn go out in the flanks with, Boyce being shifted inside as that sole striker, or whether it's he and Nandwili up front. I don't know. It's not my decision to make. So I'm glad that Robbie's got that selection headache, because it can only be a good thing. But yes, GMS probably does need dropped after, let's face it, an absolute sitter.
Well, all those missed chances did come back to bite us as
there's a surprise.
Yes, exactly. What a Heart of Midlothian statement that is. As right on half time, as Robbie said, he felt that he would have been happy to be going in 4 or 5-1 up, but instead we went in 2-1 down, as from the near side the ball gets kind of played about reasonably well. It ends up at the man I didn't even know played for Ross County's feet, in Blair Spittle in the middle of the box. Sends it. Suter tries to make some form of contact with it. However, it half nutmegs him. So as a result, hits his heel and goes past Gordon the other way where Gordon's diving. And we go into half time 2-1 down.
Somehow.
Yes.
Bog standard Hearts, isn't it? What can I say? I'm surprised we mentioned Ross Callaghan. You didn't touch on the chance just before that, where he hits the bar, and let's be frank, he has to score.
Yeah.
Like, we're as well talking about the Gary Mackay-Steven chance and saying that's a sitter. The Ross Callaghan one is a sitter as well. So it's funny how we paint these pictures in our minds with regards to games, isn't it? Because let's be frank, we could have and arguably should have been in front, yet we don't take our chances. Could have been behind earlier than we were, and then eventually do fall behind. The Callaghan chance is criminal. Like, Harry Payton's pass initially that he just spreads out to the flank, so easily prevented, as is the cross coming in. Ross Callaghan's on the slide again. Don't know where the marking is to allow him a free run. And we're lucky that he's sliding, because if he's standing, could probably afford to take a touch, or alternatively just volley past Craig Gordon. And let's face it, he wouldn't miss. Not even, as much as Ross Callaghan's been ridiculed by Hearts fans in the past. So just so frustrating that we can't capitalise on chances and get punished for it. It's the oldest saying in the book when it comes to football, because how many times have you seen sides dominate games and then they'll lose it by the scrappiest of finishes? And again, Blair Spittles isn't great. Reagan Charles Cook's out in the flank. Benny Beringame gets a touch, and we'll cut him some slack because it's a ricochet. These things happen. But Blair Spittle running on into the box. Why is nobody picking up on that? Benny Beningame, after the deflection, could still prevent the cross from coming in. And I can't believe I'm slagging the greatest player to ever live. But there comes a point where you just think defensively, both these goals are so preventable, and that's what adds to the frustration. And it's a fortunate finish, but Blair Spittle's performance, excellent. He earned the Who Scored Star of the Week, which is obviously the site that I write for. So that was great seeing that come through, as somebody that does the previews for that site. Just couldn't believe that we were back. Well, I say couldn't believe that we were behind. I certainly could believe that we were behind, but couldn't believe that we hadn't learnt previous lessons.
I think that's very fair. We then start the second half, no changes are made. However, and again, another positive is that clearly Robbie has just said to them, listen, I know we're getting beat here, but we shouldn't be getting beat. You're doing everything right. It's just
we're on top and it's only a matter of time. Yeah.
It's just that we're not taking our chances. We have a few. Nandwilly, as you said, Nandwilly got so much stick on the weekend.
He always does.
I know. I believe Joe Sked gave him a 5 in his player ratings, and I felt that was personally harsh because every single time the ball went up to him, I felt it stuck. I felt Boyce was the same. I felt those two actually worked really well together. But the main issue I had, and it's neither of their fault. I personally, for example, at halftime would have taken GMS off, brought on Herring, and then went to a 4-3-3 with Benny and Pete as the two sitters, Woodburn and Mackay as the wingers, Boyce in the 10 and Nandwilly on his own. So it gives you allowance to hit.
Is that 4-2-3-1?
It kind of is, yeah. It's like an inverted 4-2-3-1, yeah. I'm just having Boyce playing deeper and the wingers playing further up. That's it.
Wouldn't be like Hearts to revert back to a 4-2-3-1. Or wouldn't be like Hearts management to revert back to a 4-2-3-1.
I do think, though, that would have worked, but it didn't. And the problem was, as you said right at the start when we were speaking about the formations, when you have Nandwilly on the bench, it means you can bring him on and it introduces a completely new element to the game. It's something totally different to what the defence that we're up against has been dealing with. When you start both him and Boyce together, there isn't anything on the bench to change a game completely. You can, as we said last week against Hibs, you can change the personnel. So, for example, and we'll get onto them, a couple of players came on, but they played in the same positions. With Nandwilly, when you bring him on, it's like, even if you keep the same formation, you're probably not going to, but even if you kept the same formation, it introduces just a mental bit of energy that defenders have to go, oh, we need to change what we've been doing. We can't keep doing the previous thing. And when I know it's harsh because it's like, he can't simultaneously be playing from the start and come off the bench. That's harsh on him. But it is frustrating to go, when we start both him and Boyce, we need it to work immediately, because if it doesn't, then we have nothing to change it. Yeah,
that's sort of what I alluded to earlier with, you've put it perfectly, Nandwilly adds another dimension off the bench, whereas with he and Boyce, then the only changes that we're forced into are pretty much like for like. You don't really see any formation alteration off the bench and whatnot. I mean, there was most of the fan base calling out for another forward to be signed. And, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Depth at right back to obviously cover for Michael Smith arguably would have prevented this formation change, this personnel change and whatnot. Another striker up front could have been, or another striker in the squad could have been a game changer up front that we don't have on the bench once we start Boyce and Nandwilly together. The only other game that I can recall Boyce and Nandwilly starting together up front, and this is just off the top of my head, was it not, did Brora Rangers, did they not both start up front?
No, Boyce came on against Brora. And Nandwilly wasn't here.
Oh, you're right, because Castanier got hooked at half time.
Yeah,
and Jesus, what a horrible night.
Had Nandwilly signed by Brora?
Nandwilly was playing in the Brora Rangers game.
Was he?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
He signed in January and we played that in February.
Oh, I don't remember him playing at all.
I'm fairly certain that
checking.
both of them were playing. But either way, it's a rarity to see them both start. So is this going to be a common theme moving forward? This was going to be my point anyway.
He did. You're right, by the way. He did start.
With these fixtures, coming up, are the two of them expected to work up front together? Because why are we experimenting now with these, I don't want to say must-win games, but these more favourable fixtures when we've had all this time to build a working relationship between the two?
Well, I will say, I think you've kind of answered your own question there, because I wouldn't want us to trial stuff against Celtic, against Hibs, against Aberdeen, because they're the teams that you could punish us. It makes sense to, maybe not away from home. Maybe we should have trialled this weekend against Livingston at home, where it's like you have that comfort blanket of being at home. But
then Robbie would probably gain, I can't believe I'm going to leap to the manager's defence here. Then Robbie would come under fire for sticking with this 3-4-3 and just having Boyce, probably. So there's no pleasing Hearts fans either way.
Yep.
Is what I'm trying to say. But it is incredibly annoying that now we're realising, maybe Boyce and Nandwillie could play together up front. But I'm thinking, no, I'd probably only want the one up front and it to be Boyce, if I'm, hand on heart in all honesty, because Nandwillie off the bench, I do like having that option. But
it's a good headache to have. It's a good headache to have.
But is it? Because Hearts are so annoying.
I think
stuff
it is.
Like this.
I think it is a good headache to have, because very rarely do we get this. What we often say is, we have one player who's good, and if he gets hurt, we're fucked.
We're done.
What we're now saying is, right, we've got like 6 forwards who can do stuff. How do we fit them into the same team that makes it work for 90 minutes? That's a good thing to worry about. And
that we've then got a couple to pull off the bench if things aren't going our way. Do you feel as though this is maybe a bit too deep, is this sort of emblematic for exactly where the club is and exactly where the squad is?
Do you mean emblematic?
Emblematic is exactly what I mean. Emblematic is exactly what I mean. But do you know?
I agree.
Like, we've been raging at how pish we've been away from home for ages, and we've dropped points here, okay. And yes, we're disappointed, but 7 from 9, the best away record in the division. I harped on about Celtic. There's them lost their first 3. We're the only side to have picked up 7 from 9, points wise. So, and again, the squad, like, you're right. Anything would have happened to Boyce under Stendhal, we were finished.
It would have been even worse than it ended up being somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Let's just look at the bigger picture. We're disappointed, but it's not the end of the world.
Sorry, wait, is this Adam Kennedy? What's going on? You're the man who is like, we've dropped a point, therefore we need to rip it. Am I actually inflicting my views on you so much that you're not taking on my views?
No. I'm not disappointed that drop points away from home, because I'm gutted or I'm not gutted. I'm annoyed at the drop points against Aberdeen and Hibs. I feel as though they were genuinely drop points. At home, we should be targeting to beat, and this might sound big-headed or a bit daft, we should be looking to beat anybody at home. Yeah. Everybody. We should have fancy our chances at Tynecastle against any other side in the country.
Yeah, I think that's
It's away from home that, we might take a point here or there at various other grounds. But Dingwall's not won. And yet, I really don't know how I feel about the weekend. This is just because I'm on about the bigger picture, but if I look at all the other fixtures, everybody else has simultaneously dropped points. So that adds to the annoyance.
Or
Hearts
are
messing with my head to such an extent that I don't know what I'm saying. This is genuinely how I feel.
This is the ultimate glass half full, glass half empty. Because I saw somebody say that on Twitter, being like, it's because Hibs, Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen all dropped points to some extent. It makes our game even more frustrating. However, what the other half could argue is, well, we dropped points, but thankfully, so did everybody else, so it didn't affect us as much.
Yeah, and look, in terms of the actual 90 minutes, we went from looking as though we were going to gain 3 points to then none to then settling for one. Is that, had we blown a 2-goal lead, I'd be raging. Mm-hmm. But given the nature of the game, how topsy-turvy it is with us taking an early lead, then conceding 2 minutes later, then falling behind, and then gaining an equaliser, it's not as bad.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. But to get to that equaliser,
World Day.
Well, I have a lot of things to say about this because I need to hold my hands up. So, first of all, I just want to quickly mention we're going to speak about him after the goal, but Cammy Devlin, making his debut, plays the pass to Liam Boyce, who wins the free kick very well.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Does he play the pass to Liam Boyce? Because I actually thought it was a poor pass that might have looked for Jamie Walker, I think, off the bench. And Boyce nips in.
No, it's fine. He meant it.
No, I tell you who it was for. It was for Barry Mackay.
Yes,
that's who it was for. And it looks as though it's behind Barry Mackay, and he looks less than impressed. However, the best striker that we've probably ever seen in a Hearts shirt nips in and obviously draws the foul.
Then Barry Mackay and Stephen Kingsley are standing over it. Now, I'm watching it live, and I out loud went, Stephen, you've had about 16 free kick attempts. You've scored 2 of them. One of them was amazing, that you can't deny it. The other one...
The Dundee.
Yes. The other one shouldn't have went in. It was against Ayr. No, Ayr, where the keeper completely fell on it, and it never should have went in.
Was that the 5-3 Boxing Day?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Yes, it was. So I'm thinking, listen, Stephen, enough of this. We've got, I don't know what Barry Mackay's like at free kicks. I was like, Barry Mackay's there, let him take it. And then...
if he's hovering over it and showing an interest...
yeah,
then...
let Barry have it.
Yeah.
But
never...
then, as Kingsley is running up to take it, I also out loud went, oh, the keeper's in no man's land here, by the way. He was so far off to his left. Obviously, you always position yourself slightly more to one side. You don't just stand in the middle. But
given where the wall is and whatnot, and
yes,
trying
exactly.
to have a wee nosy.
But he was very far off to the left. So I was thinking, oh, actually, if this goes on target, there's a decent chance it's in. And then he just fucking rifles it into the top corner. And listen, the goal's amazing. I prefer the celebration because it's such a right, it's not like a, yes, it's like, right, fucking, come on then.
It's very emblematic, isn't
it? Yes, there we go. He's got it.
And that we're not happy to settle for a point at that stage. Yes. And it's, grab that ball, meet me at the centre circle. Yes. I think with regards to the free kick, I think if Maynard Brewer's a couple steps over, he's still not saving it. I think it's a great, great strike.
That's fair.
And I will continue to bang this drum that Stephen Kingsley is our most underrated player. And I don't know why folk overlook him.
I agree.
When we're talking about key players.
Agree with that. Yeah.
I really, really do like Stephen Kingsley. And I don't know if it's just because he started so well, then fell off after signing that deal around Christmas time, whether folk have the cup final in the back of their heads, which again is harsh because let's face
That's
it.
my dad, by the way. My dad will never forgive Stephen Kingsley. He's like, no, Kingsley
come on,
can go
Graham.
For exactly.
Oh,
get him
come on,
Adam.
Mate.
Get him tail.
Come on. Could you imagine Graham's knees if he'd had to take that pen?
Oh, mate,
or mine, or yours?
He wouldn't have been able to do the run-up, mate. Never mind.
Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Balls of steel, that man. Stephen Kingsley, what a player. I will not hear this on the GOAT ever again.
Yes. Fucking brilliant. But yes, it was an amazing hit. Boyce then, a few minutes later, has a chance where he just puts it into the side netting. Again, it's actually quite good defensive work from I can't actually remember the centre half that's on Boyce, but he actually does well to crowd Boyce out. Again, we're just attacking. We ended the game with 17 shots, only 5 on target, admittedly, but 17 shots nonetheless. However, it could have been a loss because right at the end, Ross County broke through and got a shot away, but John Suter was on the line. And I saw some people be like, oh, that's him made up for his impact of the second goal. I think that's a bit harsh to say.
Honestly,
bloody hell. It's not like he just turns around and passes it into the net.
Exactly. He's awful. Trying to get in the way of the first shot.
Yeah, it's awful.
What is that? What is this logic, man? What do folks smoke? Like, exactly. Seriously. I think even then we had a chance, didn't we, with Jamie Walker, where he opts to shoot from a tight angle. I actually thought the square was potentially the better option. But of course, I'm listening to it on the radio, so I have no idea what's going on. I'm just hoping to hear that Hearts have, completed a comeback and whatnot. The minute I hear that Ross County were attacking in stoppage time, I was like, oh, here we go. This is it. Like, I was just such a defeatist attitude, but I was thinking, here we go. Honestly, it would not surprise me. Hearts being Hearts if they just pissed it away. And then when I see the highlights, it's one we got away with. Let's just say that.
I think that's very fair. That does end the game there. However, as I said, I wanted to speak about the man making his debut. First time we've seen him, Cammy Devlin. The first thing I'm going to say is, holy shit, he is a small man. Like, I knew he was wee, but I didn't realise he was 5'7". He is a little guy.
He's never a Hearts player in a million years. Far too wee, far too athletic.
Well, this was the thing. I thought he did very well. I'm about to make a statement here that is another one of my just Newcastle elements. To me,
here we go.
He reminds me, right? And this is off 20 minutes.
John Joe Shelby.
No, it's a wee bit of a throwback Newcastle player. I've only seen 20 minutes, so this may come back to bite me, but he reminds me of Johan Cabaye, right? So
wow.
And
if he can hit a free kick like Johan Cabaye, exactly. Then yes, please, and Stephen Kingsley will be off them before we know it.
And also, and to Newcastle fans and just people who know the player, it'll be like, well, they're not similar players at all. Also, check Tiote. Also, so Cabaye and Tiote, I feel like they've combined because
they're love child.
Yes, Cabaye was always amazing. That fucking season where we finished 5th with Ba and Cisse and Ben Arfa and Cabaye and stuff like that, right? Cabaye was like the engine room. He would take it, recycle it, and drive forward with it. Cammy Devlin did that about 7 times, and he was only on the park for like 20 minutes. He was so eager to just get the ball and break forward with it and play really nice passes. But also, he's checked Tiote in that Tiote was just like a fucking terrier. It was like he would just sit in front of a defence and be like, right, try and get past me. I'm just going to get in front of you constantly. There was a moment in that game.
You're building him up something chronic,
I know.
I just say.
This only goes one way. Immediately,
this only goes one way.
I have fallen in love with Cammy Devlin. There was a moment in about the 80th minute where Ross County, I wouldn't say they broke because it was just a long ball forward, but the keeper played a long ball out to the near side. And Devlin ran with the Ross County player about 70 yards the full way. The Ross County player then got it. He jockeyed them the whole way down to almost the corner flag. Then he tackled it, hitting it off the Ross County player at the same time, and it went out for our throw-in. And it was just like, we've not had somebody who does that in ages. Benny's different to that. Benny's almost good enough that it wouldn't need to get to the first stage. Like Benny would just somehow intercept.
What do you mean? What do you mean almost good enough? He's most definitely good enough. He's the greatest player to ever live.
But I am excited by Devlin. Like, I know that I've just compared him to one of my favourite Newcastle players of all time in Johan Cabaye, and he's now going to become John Joe Shelby, and I'm going to be frustrated by him to fuck. But
he's going to become Isaac Hayden. This is where he goes off and has an absolute nuke.
Isaac Hayden is, shut up. You were nearly in the championship 15-16. Isaac Hayden was player of the year, right? Shut up. I love Isaac Hayden. A better comparison. They're in different positions, but I hate him. He'll be Paul Dummett to me because I fucking hate Paul Dummett so much. But
I hate him because of the Hearts link as well, with obviously being in that St Mirren team with the League Cup final 2013 dark days. Let's move on.
I think Cammy Devlin looks very, very good. I know you've only seen the highlights, and Cammy Devlin,
he's going to have a torrid time. This is just how this works.
This is my GMS. This is what this is going to be.
Yeah, Cammy Devlin will be shit hot for his first 5-10 games. Then he'll drop an absolute bomb scare away at somebody, and then it'll just be a gradual decline, like we've become accustomed to seeing through numerous Hearts players over the years.
Exactly.
Sorry, Cammy, I do apologise for my co-host effectively jinxing your entire Hearts career, but fingers crossed that you can prove him right.
Well,
I'm backing you.
I love Cammy Devlin with all my heart. And that is a perfect segue because, and this is where, Adam, we alienate a portion of our audience.
Oh, God, yeah. I know what you're going to talk about here.
So, we are two young men who like football. So, naturally, the stereotype is that we play FIFA. And that stereotype
and Football Manager and all this shenanigans. Exactly. Yeah.
That stereotype is fucking bang on. So that
correct.
Is what we do. So this week, FIFA comes out. Actually, the web app launches today as you listen to this.
Let's just apologise for the older generation. I think you should chuck down like a little point where they can skip to, where we resume perceived normal conversation.
Yes. The rating, however, this is something that I think everybody would be interested in. The ratings,
true.
The ratings for Hearts players came out today. Well, not came out today, but we found them today because you were tweeting about it and people very kindly tweeted to you. And interestingly, we'll start off with the fact that Cammy Devlin is our highest rated player at 70 rated. So FIFA agrees with me.
Well, no, because you love Liam Boyce.
That's Liam Boyce is our third highest rated.
I say you. We both love Liam Boyce, Craig Gordon, who I would assume would be 70 plus. I love Benny Beningame, whose first six, let's face it, is upside down. That should be a 96, because he is, without doubt, the greatest footballer that I've ever seen. Some of them are just
this is what we'll do.
Nonsense.
I'll run through them very quick. This won't take up a large period of time, but just for people interested, I will run through them now. I have the full list of them here. We have a lot of midfielders. I think we knew that already, but seeing it in a list really makes you go,
it's highlighted.
Jesus Christ. So we have highest.
No wonder we were playing a 4-1-4-1.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back to a Levine 4-6-0 and just chuck them all in there.
So highest rated is Cammy Devlin. Second highest rated, insanely, is Craig Gordon on 68. Don't know what's happening at EA.
Embarrassing.
Mental.
That's when they talk about, or fans of lesser clubs talk about big club bias. If that's a Celtic badge, he's still in the 70s. Easy. Yeah. EA, you're an embarrassment. Sort yourselves out.
I'll
still buy your game though.
I remember the FIFA 15 of Craig Gordon, 75 gold when he was at Celtic and everything like that. I remember those days. Shocking. Then we move on to four players who all have the same rating. Gary Mackay-Steven, who is a right mid in the game for some reason.
And Josh Ginnelly's on the left, isn't he?
Yes, exactly. It's just insane.
Honestly, is Stevie Wonder doing this scouting? Like, who is watching these games?
It's ridiculous. Gary Mackay-Steven, John Suter, Liam Boyce, and Stephen Kingsley are all tied on 67. Then,
happy for Stephen Kingsley. But
so
again, all 67.
Yeah.
Come
insane.
On.
Then we have, bloody hell, 1, 2, 3, we have 6 players all tied on 60. 666. That's fucked up.
Jesus. Thanks for that. The work of the devil. Love that.
Right. We have Michael Smith, Benny Beningame, Armand
Shambles.
Yes. Should be 99. Team of the season already. Armand Nandwilly, Taylor Moore, and Josh Ginnelly. And then finally, Craig Halkett, who, as you mentioned, Josh Ginnelly is a left mid. For some reason, weird. And then we move on to 65s, which is four of them together, is Jamie Walker, Ben Woodburn, Peter Haring, and Aaron McInnes. And that then closes out the silvers as we move on to 2.
Big Pete and Ben Woodburn being shafted. I
do agree with that, especially Woodburn, considering his parent club is Liverpool. I think that is a wee bit weird. We then move on to bronzes. 2 tied at 63 is Jamie Brandon and Andy Halliday, who I imagine is delighted to hear this news that he's a 63 rated bronze tied with a player who never plays.
Considering he streams as well, that's not gonna please him. I'll have to hop in a Twitch stream and watch him on Ultimate Team, perhaps. I say this like I'm expecting him to perform with the Hearts team. Realistically, it's going to be a Rangers team, but we'll see.
And then finally, closing it up, 62, Alex Cochran. And finally, the lowest rated player of our squad is Ross Stewart on 61. Now, again, I know we've just alienated so many people in the audience, but a lot of people also were tweeting us asking to speak about this in the podcast. It's just a little bit because we do have a lot of younger listeners as well as kind of older generation listeners. It is interesting to see because I think there's an element of, I tweeted it earlier going, it's funny for the people who don't play FIFA regularly to see ratings at the start of the year because it's like, yeah, this is a complaint that people have. I think there's an element of the fact that we've just come back up. So EA look at that and go, right, well, then that relates to players. But as you said, Craig Gordon only being a 68 silver, not even a rare silver as well. Gary Mackay-Steven, Armand Nandwile, Josh Nelly, that's it. They're the only rare silvers. Everybody else is common silvers. And just, yeah, Cammy Devlin being our highest rated player in the whole game is very interesting, I feel.
I don't really know what to comment other than say that I just feel as though Hearts players have been shafted generally. Is it just because we're newly promoted and so they'll feel as though they can't chuck out these high ratings? But then I see elsewhere, like somebody sent me the goalkeepers. Xander Clark and Craig Gordon have both been shafted.
They're the same rating, which is like ridiculous.
And both lower than Scott Bain, as I tweeted out earlier today. Like, what?
There is the thing of EA don't care about the perceived lower leagues. And a lot of those ratings, for example, Jamie Walker's had the same rating the last 3 FIFAs that Hearts have been in it. It was also his same Wigan card as well. So there is an element of they just don't update it, like with lower cards because they're like,
no, and they'll alter stats slightly, but they won't watch the games to alter them. So it makes you wonder. Yeah, they're probably just chucking them in some random generator, and that looks all right. Yeah, we'll go with that.
I still remember.
Honestly, sort it out.
2 years ago, Christoph Berra, 19 pace. Absolutely. I mean, even that's a disservice there. I know he's slow, but fucking hell. Herring's got 28 pace, which is just like ridiculous. I know he's...
Folk don't watch these games. This is the point I'm trying to make. Like, what are these folk on?
Yeah. Well, a game that we'll all be watching. Look at me with the segues this week, by the way. This is top class.
I'm setting up open goals for you, really, but...
All right. It's a 50-50 between us both. Well done.
We're making it work.
Yes, exactly. The game this weekend against Livingston at home, who, of course, just before they come to Tynecastle, get a massive confidence-building win against Celtic. How do you see this going? And most importantly, what team would you start? Would you change the formation back? Would you hope? Just imagine everybody's fit again, because I think Smith will be fit at least.
And Ginnelly?
I don't know.
Right,
we haven't heard anything about Ginnelly. Smith has been told that he apparently will be fit.
Well, no, actually, thinking about it, I don't know. We'll see. Look, I've made it very clear that I don't rate Livingston, that I believe that they will be relegated. And like you say, it's in such a wonderful and bizarre notion, the fact that they've picked up their first 3 points of the season against last season's runners-up. Their first win, obviously, and before that, the week before that, was their first point away at Dundee at Dens. 4 points from 2 games, so they're actually sat in better form than we are. Yet at Tynecastle, it has to be 3 points. And this is where obviously the team selection talk comes in. What team would I opt for? I'm reverting back to the 3-4-3 because I'm with you. I believe that GMS should be dropped. I think that, look, it'll be Gordon in goal. I would go Suter, Halkett and Stephen Kingsley. I would then play Michael Smith if available, obviously. If not, this is where my selection headache arrives. Probably would usher Taylor Moore out there. Although,
can I just quickly say
this?
I personally wouldn't, because this is what I meant to say all the way back when we were speaking about the enforced change at the weekend. I don't think it necessarily had to, because I think against these lower side teams, you can play somebody like Barry Mackay at right wing back.
Well, I'm saving him for later on. So, look, I hope Michael Smith will be back, because I love Michael Smith, the Lord knows. Alex Cochran has to come back in, although potentially put Kingsley at left wing back and Cochran at centre half. Cool. I probably would give Cammy Devlin a start, given his cameo in Dingwall alongside Benny. So that's the midfield covered, and then have Ben Woodburn and Barry Mackay supporting Liam Boyce. Would be my choice. So Gordon in goal, Suter, Halkett, Cochran, Smith and Kingsley, Beningame, Devlin, Woodburn, Mackay, Boyce. You?
I would play that exact same team. However, I would drop out Devlin for Haring because I
love Big Petey.
I do. I just love him. I love him so much, and I felt we missed him. As soon as I know we introduced Devlin, and it calmed Benny down as well, and you saw Benny get more on the ball. But I just feel Devlin is a better impact than Haring currently because Devlin, as I say, Terrier, just like I'll just run at everything. Haring with his 20
and against a tired midfield and whatnot. Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, I start the exact same team apart from that one little change. I didn't really speak about it because I don't have much to say. I didn't think Taylor Moore did especially well. I was very surprised at some of the comments.
I'm surprised at some of the shots that he opted to take as well.
That was infuriating.
Particularly first half, it was like, oh my God, man. Obviously I didn't watch it, but then I watched the highlights back and I'm thinking, why are you doing that?
Yeah, it was very frustrating. And there was some other people online like saying that they really thought he had a good game. And I personally disagree. I was not impressed with Taylor Moore at the weekend.
I had such FOMO missing out and looking at everybody having such a great time meeting Robbo up in Dingwall. And just want to give a massive shout out to the Hearts fans that made that journey because I thought they were excellent. And obviously would have loved to have seen them come back down the road, massive grins on their faces, having picked up the 3 points, but that wasn't to be. The fans were brilliant, and hopefully we can be repaid on Saturday. But it's just so annoying. Like, why do Livingston have to do this? And this is something else that I wanted to touch on. The international break. Why are these occurring so early in the season? Like,
fuck them.
I made the points on Di Stefano Talks that I believe it's come at the wrong time for us because 4 matches gone, 10 points, 3 wins, draw, just picked up a win against a Dundee United side that have looked solid defensively for the most part. We're in a good place. And no, we have to sit that out for World Cup qualifiers and then come back and now we've taken 2 points from as many matches. Like, momentum's everything. Like, why did it have to be interrupted for the sake of a couple Scotland games? It's so annoying.
Well, to get that momentum back, what is your score prediction for this weekend?
Hearts 2, Livingston 1.
Is that the same prediction you've given for every game this season?
No, because I said we'd win 1-0 up in Dingwall.
Oh, true.
What did I say for Hibs? Hibs, I might have said 2-1.
Hibs, you said 2-1, so you said it for Aberdeen.
I said we'd draw at United as well, though.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going for it, by the way, with my prediction.
Don't say like 4-0 or something stupid.
I'm not saying 4-0. I'm saying 3-0. I think we're going to win 3-0.
I'd love for us to keep a clean sheet.
Yes.
But given the goals at the weekend, that doesn't fill me with confidence.
However, that was a different formation. If we go to 3-4-3,
no, true.
We might go back to being all right.
And we, saying that, we could have conceded a couple in the Hibs game, but Livingston don't have the same firepower as Hibs, let's be honest.
Who's your goal scorers?
Barry Mackay.
Interesting. I do feel like we didn't even speak. He was really good at the weekend. I felt he was really good.
It was. I think I vaguely mentioned it, but a decent first start. Obviously made his debut in the derby, and even then in the derby looked good.
Yeah.
Now he's got that first start under his belt. There's no way he can be dropped for the weekend. So I'm going to say, why not? I'm going to say he'll bag his first. It'll be either he or Woodburn will bag their first Hearts goal, and probably just be Liam Boyce again, just because he's that good. Yeah. I'd love for it to be Benny Beningame netting the winner, and I can wax lyrical next week, given I'll be hosting, about how he is the greatest footballer that I've ever seen.
I'm going to go with Boyce. I said it last week, and I think I said it the week before as well. I'm still sticking with Ben Woodburn to get his first goal. And then I'm going third goal, seal it all up, 80th minute, Cammy Devlin off the bench. Because I love him.
Wow.
It's going to be amazing.
That's never going to happen in a million years, doesn't it? And this is where this clip is dug up come Saturday night when exactly that's happened.
Imagine if he scores in the 80th minute. I don't even see if we get beat 5-1, but he scores in the 80th minute. I'll be celebrating. I'll be like, this is a win.
No, I'm just thinking, imagine we go 3-0 up, courtesy of a Cammy Devlin goal in the 80th minute.
Oh,
then God knows what will happen. It'll probably be a next world war or something like all restrictions will be miraculously lifted.
COVID is cured because of Cammy Devlin.
God knows. Like, just win, please. I wanted to win on Saturday. That would have been nice. I thought the attacking lineup, this is it. We're going to batter them. Happy days. Then I just saw those names and thought it's going to be 3 points. And it nearly was none. And then we got 1. It has to be 3 on Saturday, please. I despise Livingston. I really do. Honestly, that trip to the Tony Macaroni was one of the worst nights of my life. I vowed to never go back ever again. Terrible ground, terrible fans. Just win, please. Please. I don't care. Don't care how. Just beat them. And me backing them to be relegated, it's not a vendetta thing. I just think that they're the weakest team in the league. Please prove that to me on Saturday, Hearts. Don't do what Hearts always do. Don't be yourselves and win. Thanks.
Well, what a way to finish it. Adam's rant on Livingston. But yes.
I didn't even want to rant this week. What's wrong with me?
It wouldn't be a Paisley Podcast episode without an Adam Kennedy rant. Let's just accept that for the rest of the time. So, massive thank you for listening to said rant and this episode of the Paisley Podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. As we've said numerous times throughout this, we're Perth to Paisley on all forms of social media. It's all below us on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. However, Perth to Paisley on all forms of social media. You can also email us perthtopaisley@gmail.com if you have any questions and stuff like that. We're also on YouTube, as I've just said, so please leave a like, subscribe on that. It massively helps algorithms. And speaking about that, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. If you are just listening to the audio feed, it really, really does help. It gets us pushed up the charts, and it just means a lot that you're enjoying it. So yes, massive thank you for that. Adam, where can they get you on social media?
They can get me on all the socials at Adam T. Kendo. And what about yourself, mate?
I'm at DMcIver22. We'll be back next week to discuss the 3-0 win courtesy of a Cammy Devlin 80th minute goal and any other fallout that happens between now and then. So until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Keep the faith. Mon the JTs!